Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America, where each episode we bring you a fresh and insightful interview featuring one of the film industry's top directors, conducted by one of their peers. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're enjoying The Director's Cut, please take a moment to rate and review us on iTunes or like us on SoundCloud. We love hearing your feedback. This episode takes us behind the scenes of director Ridley Scott's new drama, All the Money in the World. The film tells the true story of the kidnapping of 16-year-old John Paul Getty III and the desperate attempt by his mother, Gail Harris, to convince his billionaire grandfather, J. Paul Getty, to pay the ransom. When Getty Sr. refuses and the captors become increasingly volatile and brutal, Gail and Getty's advisor, Fletcher Chase, become unlikely allies in a race against time, with her son's life hanging in the balance. In addition to All the Money in the World, Mr. Scott's filmography includes the feature films Alien Covenant, American Gangster, Kingdom of Heaven, Blade Runner, Alien, and The Duelists, the movie for television The Vatican, and episodes of the television series Mogul, The Informer, Half Hour Story, and 30-Minute Theater. He was nominated for the DGA Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Feature Film for his 2015 feature The Martian, and for both DGA and Academy Awards for his films Black Hawk Down, Gladiator, and Thelma and Louise. In 2017, Mr. Scott was honored with the DGA's Lifetime Achievement Award for Motion Picture Direction. Following a recent screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Mr. Scott spoke with director Michael Mann about filming All the Money in the World. During their conversation, Mr. Scott discusses how he came to direct the film, his intense emphasis on the storyboarding process, and how he handled the late addition of Christopher Plummer to the cast while still meeting the film's impending release date.
Hello, thanks for coming out.
Hello, good evening. All right, so we're gonna just jump right in on there's something really interesting about the way the film starts to tell its story. In the sense that you go into the hotel room when Getty meets the family, seems almost for the first time, and he says that he's talking to young Paul about the Minotaur, and he says that priceless is an insipid word. Everything has a price. The great struggle in life is coming to grips with what that price is. And then there's a second scene in Hadrian's villa when he's walking with Paul, and he says, everyone will want a piece of you. You're alone, implying your defense is to deny them what they want from you. And then when he's distanced from his grandson, and the son's kidnapped, it then becomes what's the price that he's willing to pay to ransom him, suspecting that his grandson has become like his father, a dope addict, or is lying on a beach somewhere, and this is all a scam, and so he refuses to pay. The thing is that it's a very efficient way of starting a story that is rooted, for the way I saw it, rooted so strongly in character, and it's been referred to as a thriller. Genre's not important, but I don't think it's a thriller.
Try to sell a film that way. It says the thriller. It's not really a thriller.
It feels to me like it's a situation drama, and it's driven and propelled by character. And what I found really exciting by that is in the body of your work, it's really a dialogue picture, and it's very intensely rooted in character. And then, if that is the story, the next question becomes you asking yourself, how should this story tell itself? And did you perceive it that way when you were beginning on it?
That's the longest question I've ever had. No. What was the question?
What was the question?
No, I got it.
Yeah. What did you do to that?
I think first I've put it down to David Scarpa, the writer, because I don't write, but as and when I work with writers, I work as closely as I can with them because it always produces good results, normally. The Scarpa script landed on my desk. I was told to read it mysteriously. I think it was one of those, that silly word, black, is that what they call it, the black scripts? Is it called that?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Anyway, the black script. I found another black script years ago called American Gangster. Steve Dillon said to me, read this script, tell me I'm not stupid. Do you think it's a good film? I said, yes, we made the movie. So this came up. I was midstream of preparing something else, and I couldn't quite see the far bank. And I thought, you know what, this ain't going to happen on time. I can't better sit around. I've been sent this material not by Scarpa, but by the person, Dan Friedkin, who turned out to be a marvelous partner and financier, completely financed the movie, not Sony. Thank you, Sony, but they didn't. And he said, I read the script. He said, we'd love it if you could do it. This was last May, end of May. I was just putting out Covenant, so I was already getting restless and bored. And we started there. And I said, I'm not going to manage to do this other film to the studio, in which case I'm going to hop off and I'm going to do this other one. So it was all prepared. And the points you picked up were one of the reasons where the engine of any material is everything, as far as I'm concerned. If you get it on paper, making the movie is easy. The hardest single thing to do is get it on paper, I think you'll agree. Because it's your blueprint, it's your map, it's your GPS, whatever you want. And what Scarpa had already done, he'd got a great structure, which was, we meet the boy, and it's up to me. I decided to do La Dolce Vita at the front. Anyone spotted that? No? Okay. Sorry. But Dolce Vita. But also at the front, it was telling us that this kid is 17, smokes. Somebody off the street shouts at him, hey, Paolo. He's known on the street. He's very happy. This is not an innocent kid who then visits, see what's out there for the evening with 3 hookers, right? So then he's taken. You don't see him again except in a brief shot in a vehicle. You don't see him for about 20 minutes. No. I thought that's what was wonderful. Because as I was reading it, I'd forgotten he'd been kidnapped. And because the other characters were so strong coming up, it all related to this event that somebody had been kidnapped, but I'd forgotten about the boy because I was so interested in Getty, I was so interested in the mother. And so the structure was designed by Scarpa. I think the structure is fantastic. Yeah. No, Talking Heads films can be wonderful, but also they can dry up, even though the talk is great. The structure if the structure is simply A to Z, it can wear out.
Yeah. Did it when you were in your process of working on it? Did it feel like a different kind of narrative? To say Prometheus.
Well, I was so taken with all the characters. Each one, as they came up, Getty was this monster initially, who then actually became really so monstrous. He was positively amusing. Nearly, some of his comments nearly would bring him a laugh, a smile. But then you get to the end of the movie, you realize that this man, when somebody says to him, would you not, if you take him at face value, then you're wrong. You've got to look at the layers. And when he says, he talks about the abyss of wealth when he's cleaning a gun. And I think that's the secret. That scene there is his crushing disappointment. We've seen him invest in his favorite grandson by the walk in Adrian's villa. We've seen also him be a warm man, a good grandfather, or certainly seems to be on the surface. Then it goes on, and then the most, I think, instructive thing about Getty at that moment in the scene where he's gun cleaning, he talks about objects and things, because objects and things never disappoint you. Whereas he said, I've never found a person who hasn't disappointed me, and Chase says, me neither. So that was a very interesting thing. So his disappointment takes him to the window. He's talking about abyss of wealth. The abyss of wealth is, in a funny kind of way, almost as bad as the abyss of poverty, except I'd rather feel lonely in a Rolls Royce than on a bicycle. Okay. So, but as you approach the point of no return, whether you're poor or whether you're rich, the end result will be probably the same. And therefore, each case is a similar case of misery and abject, downward slope. So I thought that was a great scene for Getty to reveal what he was really like inside. He was a really lonely man.
The viewing it from the outside, I'm seeing the picture having a different form, and terribly successful, and very, very consistent. And it starts in the very first shot where where Paul's walking down the we're in La Dolce Vita, Italy.
Yeah.
He's walking down what's the name of the street?
Via Venezia. Yeah.
And the awnings from the shops are impinging on the top of the frame, and they're kind of crushing us, your perspective, crushing our attention right into the center. And we watch him walk along, and then they're replaced by some practical lights on the top of the frame, and then they're replaced again by the umbrellas that's sitting at the table. And it pushes us into his character, his situation, pushes us into the really intense authenticity. I totally believe I'm in La Dolce Vita, Italy. And there's a number of other shots like that. It also has that compression. There's one where she's walking, Gail is walking in, and there's the boughs of the trees, or the leaves are just all pushing down on the top of the frame. When he's in with the prostitutes by the Roman walls, it's black on the top of the frame. And in the same way, there's when they're in the Hadrian's villa, there's this screen you put in front of us, which is actually the snowflakes. The result of it, consistently for me, is that I feel that I'm in almost like a subway, kind of hurtling through a tube, tracking with these people's lives, and it's very, very effective, and it's from beginning to end, and I think is masterful. The question I got for you is I know your process, okay, and you sketch. Ridley went to Royal College of Art as a fine arts painter, and the distinction of your visuals is that nobody quite is able to encode visuals with content, with actual story content, the way you do. A painter does. A fine art painter does, so that the visuals you create are not just design, they're not decoration, they really have heavy content. So my question is this something that you're discovering in the process of doing your sketches, which you do for every shot, or is this something that's preconceived?
No, it's started off way back when at college. There was no film school, but there was a Bolex in a cupboard with a light meter, and I saw this camera, and it was a clockwork camera, and I said to the tutor, can I borrow the camera for 4 weeks in the summer? He said, no, not until you get a script. And I said, well, I don't know how to write a script. So he said, well, you don't get the camera. Isn't it amazing what you'll do if you're not going to get it? So I wrote a script, and off that he gave me the film. But what I did, I boarded every frame in absolute detail. So that's the way I'm blessed with a good eye, and I'm blessed with. That's the only thing I could ever do at school was I drew very well. I drawed very well, so already I was bad at English. Okay, so the boards, I've still got them, and they're framed because there are only 4 boards on canvas where I drew the person who would be in the film right the way through, and the person I drew was Tony Scott. So while we're doing this enforced labor from my brother, where I ruined his summer holiday, he actually was learning what he was about to do for his life. But the board, for me, is everything. I go medium. So when I'm reading the script, the first time my brain works, I'm already seeing the film. I can literally see the film. So as I opened it, said Italy, I went boom, immediately thought of Fellini. So that then becomes a swift decision, which I'll play with later. Will I copy Fellini a little bit to get us into the Italian period? Yes, fine, but make sure you make use of it. So the use of it was a 17-year-old boy wandering around an area where he shouldn't be. So that then becomes useful and tells you something about the kid. But literally, that's all boarded. So I go close-up, medium shots, wide. When I find I have to, and there's some very good storyboard artists in the business. The best one I ever worked with is a guy called Sherman Labby. Ever remember him? He did all the boards on Blade Runner. He would never give me them afterwards. I said, "Go on, give me a board." He said, "Nope." But otherwise, I board everything. It's like me with a typewriter. I'm typing as a writer, and I have to board it. So by the time I've finished, I've filmed the film on paper. So when I walk on a set, I don't have a script or anything. Just go right over there. And I need the best of cameramen to actually help me out because I'm impossible on set.
How many have seen Alien Covenant? Well, the beginning of Alien Covenant is extraordinary, and it's not just to me. It's not just the process of sketching. What I mean is that it's the white opening. David has just been woken up. The android has just been born. From his point of view, he is in Valhalla. He's in heaven. He's in some kind of Godhead, and he's seeing his creator and all and it is almost his vision of what heaven would be, and with perfect objects, and he says to Wayland, and Wayland says to him, where do we come from? That's the most important question, which is also the question of the whole film. And at the end of that scene, David observes to Wayland, "You created me, but you will die, and I won't."
Some great questions.
Wayland is very upset, and then, and then we cut, and it's a capsulization in intensely visual. Yeah. Half the content comes purely from the set, the places, the way you shot it, and it's the whole film in a capsule.
What's the question?
There's no question. It's a statement. So, let's talk about Chris Plummer.
Okay, good.
He's extraordinary. I was wondering how deep you got into Getty's.
How to add? I cast Chris Plummer because I can only remember him not from that song, That Place in Switzerland, which actually I haven't seen. He said, "Have you seen it?" I said, "No." He said, "How dare you?" Okay, right. But I always remember him from Michael's film. I'm not groveling you. But he played the guy, head of 60 Minutes, right? Mike Wallace. And he was very, very powerful. And so he'd always been on the list. There was only him or Kevin, that was it. And I went with Kevin, the rest happened. And so I called him up, and he said, "At last, you call me." Okay, right.
He brings a vulnerability to it as well as the pathology, and those as really vivid. Did you get into any deep background with him to Getty and Getty's relationship with his father, George?
No, because I flew into New York when I had the problem. You don't want to hear about this now. And I said to my partner, "I got to get to New York. I'll get Chris Plummer. We'll be shooting in 9 days." Because this took about an hour. We discussed it in depth, decided, and I must say, to have a financial partner like this guy, I'd say, "Listen, you're a businessman. For us to redo this, I can do it. I can deliver. But it will cost X to do this. We've budgeted." He trusted it by then because he sat right through every day of the film making in the process because he's just fascinated by a movie. So he sat every day with me. And it became actually quite all right. Normally I don't have anyone near me because I get very bad-tempered. But it was quite all right. And he said, "No question, we have to do it." So it was like a marathon. I went to meet with the next man. And he flew in. He lives in Connecticut, so I flew into New York, met him. That night, he said, "Well, I have to read the script." I said, and he read the script the next day, and he called me up, said, "Yes, let's go." He said, listen, there ain't much time here for research. And so, I think the great thing about the script also is there's a great deal of research has gone into it, and you feel that. You know what I'm saying? When you get a good script, if I get a really good script, I don't want to question anything. I just say, thank you very much, let's make it. It's only when you start to unearth things, you can turn a Go film into a development deal. You've got to be very careful about that. When I get offered a script out of the blue, I say, I love it. They say, then you no. When we're going to shoot, let's put it, fine. And so I never question it, but unless I develop myself, then the evolution of me and writers is very elongated, and mostly fun, I think. And so I knew Scott had really, I talked to him at length about this, and at length about Christopher Plummer coming in, who will bring a different strength to bear. He will bring emotion. Kevin did a good cold job. I don't mean cold bad. That's the choice. It was cold. It was tough. It was rough. Even the humor was kind of designed. This man would bring to it a heart and a smile and a twinkle that you're never going to get rid of. That's why he's been with us for so long. And you can, and that twinkle and smile can read as warmth or being chilly. So when he's saying bad stuff with that twinkle and smile, somehow it's even more effective. Yeah,
great.
Well, he said that thing with you, and where Pacino's saying to him, he said, well, this is what we've worked for, Mike. And Mike says, listen, you little shit. He said, I'm 72. I don't want to end up in some second-rate radio station in Oshkosh, right? Yeah. That was a great line. Was that your line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's.
I remember this.
Is he still drinking?
What?
Is he still drinking?
Sorry?
Is Chris still drinking?
Totally, so am I.
Yeah.
But I haven't had one yet. No.
With it.
Never drink when you work.
Yeah. All right. I read that you were shooting things in the morning, and every time you finished a shot or finished a scene, it got shipped to the editor, Claire Simpson, who was editing it during the day, and that by the end of the day, you were able to look at that scene, and then that got shipped on to for music editing and everything else, and mixing it, which is interesting way to work. You can only do it if you're really experienced and really know what you're doing. Which leads me to this is a quote from you. When you get a guy who's done a low-budget movie and suddenly give him $180 million, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's stupid. You know what the reshoots cost, and it's I can't imagine millions and millions.
A lot more than my fee. If they hired me in the first place, they'd be on budget and wouldn't go for budget.
You can get me for my fee, which is heavy, but I'll be under budget and on time. This is where experience does matter. If you're really experienced and you know what you're doing, it's essential. So that it actually is what you did is an incredible feat in terms of turning it around. You want to amplify on that thought?
I mean, you can't. You need a great team, because as soon as I knew we had a problem, the first person I called was my line producer, and before I even talked to my financier, we're all going, "Oh, what? What?" And within about 45 minutes, I would call up this gentleman. I'm not going to tell his name because he's the most valuable person to me. Every one of you in this room will steal him, so go f*** off. So I call up this person saying, listen, you got the problem. How fast can I be shooting if I get Plummer? And then, of course, you do the phone calls of availability of locations, availability of the actors, in what order can they be together, and so you work out the analysis. Turned out we were lucky because it was only using Mark out of his film for 2 days to come and help us out. Michelle said, I'll do it now for nothing. And once Plummer said that, I was shooting within 9 days because the locations fell into place. But that's a lot of great units. That's a great unit. I'm not telling you who they are. That's why I cut the credits short.
Yeah. There's nothing quite as good as a first-rate. There's nothing quite as good as a first-rate Hollywood crew.
Sure.
I mean, they didn't do anything.
The good ones everywhere.
Talk about Michelle a little bit.
Track. When you're what we do, everything we watch. There's something going in some shelf somewhere, particularly if something's special. And Michelle went into my special shelf a while ago, I think, when she was playing the wife of Heath Brokeback Mountain. And I thought she had such a significant but small role, and the bell went off. And I just keep watching whatever she was doing. The bell kept going off, and I thought, one way or another, she's just about the right age. She can play mid to late-ish 30s. The only thing, she's got that very short blonde hair. But that was good anyway, because we made some of the best wigs. Those Italian wigs are incredible. And she was just delight to work with, and a rare, unusual bird for me, because bird is in the sky, not female. She's a rare bird in her talent, because the discussions aren't complex, they don't get in the way. They are about, and usually one has talked at length about who Gail Getty was, and there's only just a very limited number of pieces of footage of Gail Getty. And Gail Getty was clearly kind of athletic. She'd been a swimmer of water polo, of all things, as a water polo swimmer. But she was very assertive, and the assertion comes out onto her mouth. So when she talks with an assertion where her lower lip would stick out. We both noticed that. She said, "Did you notice something like that?" I said, "Yes." She said, so she clocks in. Did anyone notice? Even the acting even goes to the physicality of thinking through how her face is going to be. She's remarkable. And what I think is fantastic about this, because there's always people on the side, even at my stage, saying, "Don't you think she ought to cry a bit? Don't you think?" No. I'm a sentimental dude, absolutely sentimental. And they've still got Dean. I'd love to see her more vulnerable. I said, watch the bloody film. You're not watching the film carefully enough. But to toot the trumpet just once, the guy in the New York Times gave a fantastic review. He said there was not one iota of sentimentality. Thank God. We are divided by the same language frequently, as Winston used to say. Because, sentimentality in Americanese, and I'm not taking the mickey because I've spent too long here now. I know there's a room full of Americans, okay? So, sentimentality, you'll get an executive may say, the script is great, it's sentimental, it's melodramatic. I got to stop. I said, you just mentioned two of the worst words you can possibly apply to anything I've done. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. She dwells in this space. She's totally real. She had me on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Amazing. Yeah. But then she will layer, I'll say, I think, I always try and make the actor, as soon as possible, my partner in what we're about to do. Because if you make a partner of your actors, then you trust them and they trust you. And that club tends to exist right through the film. And that's why somehow then, because they feel so secure, then it's like turning them loose. And I like to turn them loose because I've cast them very carefully. When I turn them loose, I don't want me to have to tell them how to be emotional, because it's within the context and the slot you're trying to get. It's best I don't tell them. I'd rather it came from them, because then there's the highest compliment I can ever have to any actors. I've never thought about that one. You want to go on? And they say, yes, please. Okay, right. But I would tend to be very just decisive now on what I've got, what I'm getting, how many takes I may need, and have I got it? Because there's a bloody second hand going with a $sign on it. And I'm serious, because that's how these films just run out of control, because that happens. You know this as well as I do. And she would always say, and then she'd come and it wouldn't be about another take. It would be about, but we haven't tried this layer. I'd just love to try that layer. Don't you think that makes sense? And I was thinking, she's right. And so let's go again. So it was one of the better relationships with an actress. Yeah.
What did she? What was the zone? Was there any consistency? Like she'd be great on takes 4, 5, and 6, or
no. I tend to be. I've discovered way back when that I've been to the 35 takes, dude, and who does 90? I know who does. You want to know who does 90?
Oh, wait, that's somebody.
Okay. But I tend to be now down to about 2. Because if you're hunting, it means there's something wrong with the script. If you got the script you want, and you've cast who you want, and you did the right choice, you can make the wrong choice. You did the right choice. Normally they come in so pumped up, ready to go in the morning, that for you to then sit down and talk to them 40 minutes before every take, they want to kill you. I'm serious, and I got this off to some of the greatest actors who I got to know very well. I said, I want to ask you a question. When you come in the morning, you just want to shoot, don't you? I said, yes. I said, and I said, that's why I've always decided way ago to turn on the first take. Do not rehearse. I'm going to do a walkthrough from me and Darius or the cameraman I'm working with, and the boys on the wheels. On the focus, but I'll always be working 4 cameras, so the cameras are very well placed. So a scene that says scheduled to be all day will be finished by 11:30. Seriously. And I'm not showing off, it's just logical. And I think the rehearsal period can also just run away, because I discovered when I'd say, right, let's do a camera rehearsal, we'll rehearse, run it through, I go, damn, you just did it. And so then I'd prep again another film or another scene later. I'm going to do a camera rehearsal again. Do not act. And they'd say, right, action for the walkthrough. And you go, stop, you're acting. I don't want to say, I want you to surprise me. That's how I run the floor. Yeah. But it opens them up. They feel like part of the club. You know what I mean? There can be a them and us situation with an actor and the crew. And I try and break that wall down. Yeah.
Claire Simpson. Is this how many films have you done with her? Claire Simpson's the editor.
2. Claire was. I saw Salvador. Went, wow, good film, Ollie. And then immediately, who understood it? And I needed her. Claire did a very nice film for me, little film I did years ago called Someone to Watch Over Me. Then I never saw her again. I think she had a bad time or something, I don't know. But she went off, and you know how the clock, you never catch up. And then this is the first time it's caught up, and I had a great experience with it.
Yeah, it's terrific. There's one particular shot that if the cut points were 1 or 2 frames later, would not work at all. It's when the Volkswagen van is driving away, and it pans into a rear shot. And it's a perfect Pizarro perspective, diagonals on the bottom of the frame, and then it cuts to Saudi Arabia, and you've got the railroad tracks on the right in exactly the same kind of Pizarro.
I didn't notice that. Did you notice?
Diagonals. Give me a break here. I'm trying to...
that was David Lean's train, by the way. That was Lean's train from Lawrence.
Yeah.
Because over
the train's coming at you.
So I knew it was there because around that corner, behind the train, I spent several weeks there doing Martian. So I used to drive over the train track every morning. So when we were planning, I said, we need to go to Kuwait. I said, stop, we'll go back to Jordan. I know there's a train, we'll have Getty arrive in the train. It happens that fast. Because I knew the Lawrence train would go around the park. That's the train where the Turkish train that Lawrence blew up in Damascus.
Yeah, but it's a seemingly simple cut, but it just glides you right through it. And you have the van going away, the train coming towards you, tracks are on the right, mountain ranges on the left. The Saudis are waiting for Getty to show up. but it is literally like if it 1 or 2 frames earlier or later, it just wouldn't work. It's perfectly seamless.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Great. Terrific. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. If you'd like to hear more from director Ridley Scott, check out episodes 11 through 13, which feature Mr. Scott discussing his DGA Award-nominated film The Martian, alongside other nominees such as Alejandro Iñárritu and Tom McCarthy at our Meet the Nominees 2016 Feature Film Symposium. You can find past episodes of The Director's Cut wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to click subscribe so you won't miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share, and leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.